not to be ashamed of my body and what I could do. Yeah, the way he made love, he just was insatiable. And he made me feel amazing. He was an amazing teacher of how you should make love to a woman.
Everything is wrong. Me and my baby party all day long. Walking inside.
And Mick caught me. Brian was looking for me, so he came around the corner and saw me in the arms of Mick. And then Brian lost it. He just, keep your hands off my fucking girl, you know.
We're very excited because we didn't expect this sort of reception. We didn't know much about Australia, how big we were or how small we were. And we're very knocked out. I mean, the girls, listen around, they're wild, you know, we're knocked out, really are.
Are you used to this kind of reception then?
Yeah, we're used to it, but we're not, you know, we weren't expecting Australia because we didn't think we were very well known.
Well, apparently you're rather well known. First of all, let's deal with some of the numbers. How did all this start?
Well, we just met each other in jazz clubs in London about 2 years ago.
As the turbulent rivalry between Brian and Mick for the coveted leadership of the Stones intensified, Mick's innate charisma as a frontman became an insurmountable force. Brian, grappling with his own insecurities, unwittingly fueled this power struggle. A palpable tension emerged, gradually evolving into a consuming force that began to overshadow Brian's every thought.
Dear Melinda, Mick is the head of the group. At one time I was, but Mick took over. Don't ask me why.
In the early days, who got all the fan mail? Brian. The secretaries told me, well, we get about 100 letters. About 60 of them are for Brian. About 25 are for Mick. There's about 10 for Charlie and Keith, and there's about the same for you, you know, and that's it, you know. But Brian gets all the fan mail.
The rock and roll lifestyle, with its excesses and allure, cast a spell on Brian, adding strains to their once harmonious love affair.
I'm like, what, whose baby? No, Brian's.
In the intricate drama of Brian's life, Dawn Malloy emerged as the mother of his fifth progeny, a pivotal character in the unfolding saga of his familial complexities.
I was 18. I don't think I'd ever been in love before. Every time I saw him, my heart skipped a beat. And every time he saw me, it was obvious that he wanted me. Being a Catholic, I was very inhibited. No, he kind of got that out of me, not to be ashamed of my body and what I could do.
Dawn, a mysterious presence in Brian's life, entered the scene as a captivating enigma. Their paths crossed in the kaleidoscope of London's vibrant music scene, a realm where passion and rebellion intermingled with the strumming chords of destiny.
He was very, very sexy. He just made me feel loved and special.
Brian, with his unruly curls and magnetic aura, was drawn to Dawn like a moth to a flame. Their love story unfolded against the backdrop of Brian's creative genius and the rising crescendo of the Rolling Stones.
My parents, they had such a thing against long-haired git pop stars. All this music's no good. You know how it is. They didn't want any of it. I never dreamed he'd come to our apartment. There he was on the doorstep. Good evening, Mrs. Malloy, and kissed her hand. I mean, who does that? It's just, he had the suave. They liked him in the end. Yeah, then my mum said, why don't you go down to your bedroom? Show Brian your bedroom.
Dawn, with her quiet strength and unwavering support, became a muse for Brian during a time when the world was beginning to recognize the seismic impact of the Stones. As the Stones scaled unprecedented heights of success, so too did the complexities in Brian and Dawn's relationship.
The security wasn't around, so you could just walk into a hotel and the girls were everywhere. We went to our room and there's this girl there and she's just sitting on the bed, stark naked. And then we go in the bathroom and there's another one. And they're willing to give everything to them. The police had no idea what hit them. They were completely taken by surprise. And it was terrifying.
The fame that embraced Brian like a long-lost lover brought with it a set of challenges. Dawn, navigating the uncharted waters of love in the shadow of fame, became a silent witness to Brian's internal struggles and the external pressures that threatened to unravel their connection.
You could see all the feet trampling on people, stiletto heels going on people's arms and stuff. I thought I was going to die. It was like being in a tube train and you can't move. I think Mick lost some hair. They pulled literally hair out of his head. And I started to fall back. And I fell back. And Mick caught me. Brian was looking for me, so he came around the corner and saw me in the arms of Mick. And then Brian lost it. He just, keep your hands off my fucking girl, you know, you're not having all my girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. Mick said, hey, I'm just holding her, you know, she just fell, sort of thing. Don't be a dick, you know. And then Bill said, yeah, you know, sometimes he gets like that. Just had to leave him, he'll be fine.
The rock and roll lifestyle, with its excesses and allure, cast a spell on Brian, adding strains to their once harmonious love affair.
They were all a little weary, I think, of Brian, because he could be kind of moody. But I think they put that on him because he was supposed to be the leader and he was no longer the leader.
Brian, the enigmatic instrumentalist and creative genius, grappled with insecurities that played into the growing competition. Mick's natural aptitude for fronting the band made him an unstoppable force, overshadowing Brian's role as the initial focal point of the Stones.
Mick ruled the roost as far as what they were going to play and the fact that he could write music and Brian couldn't. I think there may have been a little jealousy there, the fact that Mick and Keith were so close.
A visible tension began to weave its way into the fabric of the band. As the struggle for leadership intensified, the rift between Brian and Mick became a palpable energy, a seismic force that began to shape the band's trajectory.
Yeah. I feel all right, children.
I think they were a little bit lost until Andrew came along, and then Andrew kind of laid down the law and said what he wanted to do. Which was all very well, and I thought that was a good idea to have a manager, but I don't think Brian realised that he would be handing everything over to him.
The struggle for dominance played out not only on stage, but also behind closed doors, where creative decisions and the direction of the band were fiercely contested.
They had two different ideas of what they wanted to do. Brian loved Howlin' Wolf and he wanted to stay as a blue group. Andrew wanted them to be pop.
Dawn, however, remained a steadfast presence, weathering the storms of Brian's personal battles and the challenges that fame brought to their doorstep.
I think Andrew and Brian just didn't hit it off. And I think they just got into loggerhead. Pop sold, and obviously Andrew wanted to make money.
Thank you.
Dear Melinda, Mick is the head of the group. At one time I was, but Mick took over. Don't ask me why. We just thought it would be better, as he is a good leader. Mick's birthday was on the 26th of July. I must rush, dear, honestly. Brian Jones.
I guess he was a little jealous of Mick because he had all the fame sort of thing. But I don't think Brian realised that he had just as much too.
Brian, once the driving force behind the sound and image of the Rolling Stones, found himself navigating the turbulent waters of a power struggle within the group. As the Stones ascended to unprecedented heights of fame, the rivalry between Brian and Mick reached its zenith. The charismatic allure of Jagger became synonymous with the band, leaving Brian marginalized and grappling with his diminishing influence.
I think he would have liked to have been like Mick, but then no one's like Mick. He has this charisma about him, he has this amazing energy.
Ultimately, the tension between Brian Jones and Mick Jagger became a defining chapter in the narrative of the Rolling Stones. It laid bare the complexities of creative partnerships, the weight of fame, and the toll of internal power struggles.
I understand Brian because I think he was a lost person.
In the swirling maelstrom of success and personal strife, Brian and Dawn's love story reached a crescendo. The once unbreakable bond began to fray, echoing the turbulent chords of the Stones' evolving sound. Brian, grappling with his own demons, found solace in the music that had defined his life.
Oh, everybody went through their star trip, you know, and I think Brian was the only one that it changed in a really deep way, and probably not for the better. It was very difficult for him, you know, and not made any easier probably by the rest of us, you know, because nobody had the time to look after somebody else. If one of them isn't quite strong enough to deal with that situation, there's very little you can do to help him.
The Stones' meteoric success was nothing short of extraordinary. However, at the very pinnacle, when Brian could have reveled in the triumph of the band he had birthed, he found himself ensnared in a tumultuous conflict, a quagmire of problems meticulously crafted by his own hands. In the symphony of their lives, Brian Jones with Dawn Malloy resonated as haunting melodies echoing through the corridors of time. As the crescendo of the Rolling Stones' success reached its zenith, so too did the strains on Brian's heart and relationships, and Dawn Malloy, the silent witness to his tumultuous journey, both bore witness to the dichotomy of love in the shadows of fame. The echoes of their rivalry lingered, shaping the destiny of the band and forever imprinting the legacy of the Rolling Stones in the annals of rock and roll history.
When Keith went with Anita, Brian decided to start going out with Linda Keith, who used to be Keith's girlfriend. All that relationships were always slightly incestuous. Marianne, you know, when she gave up with Mick, she went with Brian, and then she went with Keith. So she went with three of them. Anita went with Brian, she went with Mick, she went with Keith. It was all very mixed up, you know. Girls would end up being with another member of the band.
What I firmly believe was the turning point in Brian's life was when he lost the only girl he ever really loved. When his mother and I saw him for the first time for some months after this happening, we were quite shocked by the change of his appearance, and in our opinion, he was never the same boy again. He changed suddenly and alarmingly from a bright, enthusiastic young man to a quiet and morose and inward-looking young man.
Dearest darling Linda, I'm presently very smashed. Please be with me. I'm so lonely by myself. I need you so badly and I love you so much. Please understand what fucked us up before, a terrible combination of events. Please let's start again. Please marry me. Please, please, please. All my love, Brian.
It was a painful year, you know. 67 was a year of change for everybody. I mean, 67 was the explosion of the drug culture.
Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. Don't miss the next episode. Until then, keep it rolling.
He don't know if it's right or wrong. Maybe he should tell someone. He's not sure just what it was, or if it's against the law. Something